great pleasure being joined here by Norman and Joe back here at the backstage at Dingwalls. And it's nice to see you guys. And now you're together and with the Mendicants. I was going to say get the pronunciation right, but also find out where the name came from.
Right. Well, it's New Mendicants, and the reason that it's New Mendicants is that we I guess we kind of independently thought that the Mendicants would be a good name for a band. And after a quick Google search, we discovered that there were several existing Mendicants. So I think Joe suggested, well, just call it New Mendicants. And I thought, that'll work.
In that folk tradition.
Yeah.
New Christy minstrels.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still exist, any of the Mendicant bands, because a lot of them looked kind of like they might be getting on, or they didn't last as a unit.
Right.
Yeah.
So perhaps you can say you're the continuing Mendicants.
Continuing the tradition. But it's a beggar, right? The word mendicant means a beggar. And it's also the mendicant, an order of monks.
Right, okay, I didn't know that.
They take a vow of extreme poverty.
Okay.
Like those monks who spend their whole life making their own casket, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's their whole gig.
Oh, right. So we're preparing for death.
Yeah.
Maybe that kind of helps them not be afraid of it, because that's one of the core issues, I think, in humanity, is a fear of death, and that's what we're sort of avoiding.
They carve their own casket from a solid piece of oak with a nail file.
Is that what it is?
Takes about 35 years.
So it teaches them patience as well.
Kills you collapse into it just as you finish. I'm done.
So how long have you guys known each other?
Oh, quite a few years.
So you don't mind me waving this thing in your face.
That's okay. So since George Bush, the younger, was elected.
Oh, right.
But we weren't super close friends along the way. But, we knew of each other. And I think we probably, I don't know if our paths crossed that much, but we certainly were aware of each other.
Yeah. And then we both found ourselves in Canada. We both married to a Canadian.
Oh, is that the reason you went over there?
Yeah. And so we, about a year and a half ago, I was making an album with a Norwegian band. Me and Robin Hitchcock were producing a record for a band called I Was a King.
Okay, what brought that about? What brought you to
Well, the band approached me about, and Robin independently, and I thought it sounded like it would be good fun.
Yeah.
And so when I was over there, they had a guy called Pat Berkery playing drums, and Pat used to play with Joe in Pernice Brothers. And so Pat said to me, Joe's living in Toronto now, and I said, I didn't know that. And so he put me in touch, and I was back in Canada about a week later, and we got together. And then this started.
Oh, nice.
So almost immediately.
So it's almost like synchronicity, or just started happening. You sort of felt comfortable.
Coincidence. We hit it. I invited Norman over to my house. We played a little music. I had a solo show at a little club not far from my house, and I said, why don't you come as a surprise guest? And he showed up, and we played some songs, and then pretty much it was very simple after that. We thought, let's record. And Mike Belisky, who plays with the band called the Sadies, who used to play drums in the Pernice Brothers, he lives in Toronto as well, and he's one of my best friends. And we said we want to join our band, and so it's the three of us. He's on tour with the Sadies right now. He had already committed to doing some stuff. Right. He's in Spain today, actually.
Oh, really?
So it was really very simple. And then we just went to Norman's. He has a little studio set up at his house, and we chipped away at a record. Very simple.
Yeah, nice. So who was in Toronto first?
Mike.
Okay.
Mike is Canadian, but he was born in America when his father he grew up in Nova Scotia, but he was born in Boston, and he's lived in both places of America and the USA as an adult, and he's settled in Toronto. And my wife is Canadian, and she's dual citizen. We got married, lived in New York, and then she wanted to move back to Canada, so we moved. And then Norman's wife's Canadian.
Right. Yeah. And so you met your Canadian wives outside Canada, but it's all kind of this sort of coming back.
Me too. I met my Canadian wife, Krista, was working at the Manor Studios in Oxford, and my band, Teenage Fanclub, were making a record there, and we met. So that's 19 years ago.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
And my wife was in a band called Jail that were on Sub Pop at the same time.
That rings a bell, yeah.
Yeah, they were on Sub Pop at the same time as Scud Mountain Boys, my other band.
Okay.
So we played a show. That's how I met my wife in New York. And the rest is history.
Perfect. So
and Mike met his wife at a Pernice Brothers show. So
yeah.
So have you noticed that with yourselves and your lives and your music, but there's just been a flow, and you've not been forcing anything. Everything kind of, you just sort of, whatever comes up, you allow to happen.
I think we work at our own pace. I mean, I think music is people always say to me, well, they say, well, so your kind of job as a musician, and what are your hobbies? And I would say, well, I like playing the guitar. I mean, I kind of, I think when you've been playing as long as we have, it just becomes your life. This is what I am. I'm a musician. That's what I do, and so it's pretty natural for us to. I think we're always looking to make music.
Yes.
That's because it's still you still get a real thrill making music and making records. It's still exciting.
I agree. And I'm not always looking ahead, but sometimes I'll even think, what am I going to do next for a record or something, and I might not even have a drive or anything, but it inevitably, and the idea or the vibe or the kind of thing I want to go after, it presents itself. It always has, and I don't even think about it. And in like songwriting, I've written hundreds of songs, no joke, and I feel like every one is a mistake. Like rarely ever has a song fallen out of the sky, completed, a melody, I know what I'm going to do. It's always something I find. So I feel
it's a matter of not forcing it, just allowing, as you say, you know your own pace, and if you know yourself and you're happy within yourself, then you kind of you just allow it to happen.
I think you just try to be honest in a way, in terms of what comes out of you, if you know what I mean, in terms of your expression,
And it's fun to hit a chord on a guitar. You pick up an acoustic guitar in the morning, bang on a chord, and it suggests some other chord. You just kind of run with it. That's how I work, at least.
Oh, right. So there's not been a change in your career or your time with your music. That there's not been a change in your songwriting or difference in everything.
It's not as often. I used to just be doing it constantly, but it's not as often anymore. I don't sit down. I don't spend as many hours a day playing music as I used to.
Right.
That's for sure. But when I do, for me, it's pretty much the same thing.
Okay, so there's been no changes in how the inspiration comes or for the words?
Not really. I don't think so. No, I think it's just been pretty much the same. Maybe I guess like Joe says, maybe not quite as often. With my other band, we don't meet as often as we did in the past.
Right, so that's still you're still putting time into it, or you're still
everyone has other commitments and doing other things, and But no, I mean it's still great fun, and we're actually talking today about making our next record, which we're planning to do quite soon. And I love having the studio at home. I really enjoy working in that, mixing things for people and recording people.
That must make a difference for working in general to have it there, rather than making a mission to go there or set something up. Then you can just sort of work whenever you feel like it.
It's more informal, obviously, and it doesn't cost you any money, other than
It's true. That's a big thing when when we had record budgets, because I own my own record company, so I've been doing that since '99. When someone else is paying the bills and you have a limited amount of money and time, you really feel a crunch to get it done. Now that, you can record stuff that sounds as good as any studio recording I've ever made. Yeah. And it costs you literally, a few thousand in investment in gear. Yeah. You could sit there and try it 100 times. You don't like it? Let's record the whole thing over again. Yeah. It's just your time.
Yeah.
It's a real freedom.
And that's happening with a lot of people, actually. People are able to make music and everything from, digital to the video to computer equipment as well. People can do that.
I think, it's kind of, in some ways I feel that in some respects it's great for young people making music now, and in other respects it's hard, because it's harder to make a living from music because of sort of digital downloads and people downloading music illegally. But on the other hand, it's much easier to make music. So anyone can make music. You can make it at home. But in terms of having that as your job or whatever, or trying to make a living, paying your rent, making music, it's much harder. Yeah. It's really much harder. It's much, and that's why, I mean, it's a big thing for us. Now we carry, we always take merch with us because it's a way that you can pay for the tour and you can pay for the travelling and.
Well, I guess as long as you're able to keep doing what you like doing and it pay for itself, that's not a bad foundation. But I think it's also good from what you're saying that the more people can make music that perhaps weren't able to before allows for. Just this creativity to be outpouring and some good things that come from it, and maybe if it's good, it'll be, more people will hear it.
You would hope so. I mean, I guess also in terms of people making videos, people make their own videos. Cameras are much cheaper now. The editing software is pretty. It's almost like you can get it for nothing.
Shoot on an iPhone.
Shoot on an iPhone.
No, really, you can.
You can get little lenses. You can.
There's all sorts of stuff you can do. It's easier than
in that sense. Good, but like I say, that the only downside, one of the things that's changed is that it's harder to sell records now. because less people buy them
Yeah.
overall. But I think we're lucky in that when we started our bands, we've been around long enough that we've kind of probably got a decent enough fan base to people who will always come and see us,
Yeah.
that will allow us to keep touring and making music. But it's not easy. It really isn't easy.
Yeah, I mean, have you noticed that you've continued your fan bases, but then have you noticed where people are coming from, the new people that follow your music, the kind of genres they like, or is it just?
No, I think it's funny. I think there'll just always be people who are interested in music. I mean, obviously, I would say predominantly our audience are going to be older, but we do get young people at our shows. People who, I mean, I've met people who have got into Teenage Fanclub through their parents been into the group and say, oh yeah, my dad played your records and I like them, and I guess people might have a nostalgia for when they were a kid. The music would be in the background and they'll come along. But music is just music. It doesn't matter how old you are. You think like fucking Willie Nelson is like an old guy, but he's still amazing. As good as any 16 or 17-year-old. Maybe even with a little more edge than a lot of 17-year-olds.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how old you are. And that's why I think if people are genuinely into music, they'll listen to music. It doesn't really, certainly for me anyway, it doesn't bother me how old, what age someone is. I'm really only interested in the music, and always have been.
Yeah. Great, but also it helps, I think, that there's been a tendency or a little bit, maybe a fashion of, singer-songwriter, of the more acoustic feel, and also the harmonies and the different guitar sounds as well. And so obviously that sort of harmony style, which I really like, there's always a market for it, and that can grow as well.
I'd have to say, I think people really like hearing harmonies.
Yeah.
I think there's something really magical about harmonies, and people.
It's comfortable. It's just lovely.
There's something satisfying, I think, to the ear. To the ear.
Yeah, for sure.
It's fun to do. That's why we try to. We're not trying to make this. I think we're trying to focus on mostly singing together in songs, and not having too many bells and whistles and that kind of thing. Just because it's really fun to sing, and when you can nail it, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, because almost like with the vocal harmonies, there's somehow a harmonious vibe with the guitar. Because there could be like a little jangly solo bit, but then the rhythm that goes with it kind of blends together really well.
Well, do you know what? People have, the guitar's been around for a long time, and people have just developed that thing over the years. The shape of a guitar has changed, and just to work with voices. I suppose instruments have changed and been developed over time to work with the human voice. So it's great. It's really good fun.
And you found your own little way with it as well.
Yeah, we've just found we're doing our best.
Have you noticed a difference in the way you work together compared to your other bands you've been involved with?
You mean playing?
Everything from touring, being together, and the creative side to playing live.
For me, it's a lot different.
Yeah.
Because when I make my records with my band, the Pernice Brothers, I'm not a jerk or anything, but I'm the boss, right? I want to do this. Let's try this over there, and we do it. And here it's much more collaborative. I'm free and easy. I love it. It's kind of refreshing to not have to be the guy carrying everything all the time.
Okay, like
and I love it.
Almost.
Yeah, it's really good. And I mean, for my other band with the Pernice Brothers, it's more of an electric thing. So I haven't touched an electric. I didn't play one electric guitar on the record. You played them all. It was great. I loved it. I didn't play one single electric guitar, and I like that. And I like that we are not at like full step on the gas speed and full volume. You can hear yourself. It's different. It's a whole different experience.
More space in the music, I guess, as
well. Well, certainly. If you have two guitars compared to a 5-piece electric band, it's going to be something different.
With a drum kit directly behind you.
Right.
Traveling is a breeze. This is a great way to do it. It's so easy, It's simple, and it's so much more. For me, it's much more laid back, and it's different. I wouldn't say it's better. I mean, I like both things.
It's different. Yeah.
It's very different. It's refreshing. I'll say that.
The amount of people I speak to, like from Neil Hannon and people that have been in big bands, to then go either by themselves or with a few people, it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
To do more of this.
The sound checks are over generally in 15-20 minutes, because you're plugging in a guitar and singing. Does it sound right? Yeah, it does. Done.
A band, it could take 35-40 minutes to set up.
Yeah.
You just sit and, it's a lot of just kick, snare.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that.
So it just adds to the feel of going into a different project, because you've had this previous way where you've been with your band for a long time, and now you can try something different, and it is different. So it's like a different experience.
You can spend a little more time looking around cities, or going out for food, or finding a nice pub or something like that. We try and do that. We'll try and travel around.
Yeah, which is another thing people say when they tour, that they don't actually see the cities they go to. They might as well just
pretty well.
Yeah. We've
well.
done all sorts. We've been to a pottery and made pots. We went to Nick Drake's grave. Where else did we go?
We've gone to a lot of places.
Sylvia
Plath's grave.
Went to Sylvia Plath's grave. Yeah, we did. We've done quite a bit.
Yeah.
Went for pub lunches and all sorts.
Pretty relaxed.
Yeah.
Because we don't book it if we don't have to. We don't have a label saying get out there and play every little.
Yeah, that must
We're
make
not
a
doing
difference.
it. We don't care. We don't care that much.
So you're doing it because you love it, and you're doing it the way you love it, and then now it's just working really
Sure.
comfortably.
Absolutely, yeah. Definitely, no doubt about that. Yeah.
You try to make it as least like a job. This stuff, like we'll do press where we just arrived and we have to get on a train and go here and there, and you're like, oh Christ. But then you think, I was saying, people work for a living.
Yeah.
So, I don't mind being tired for a few days, like dragging my ass around the UK doing a ton of press. I don't, that's not the real world.
Yeah.
I don't delude myself into thinking that that's hard. And anyone who bitches about having to do that kind of thing is, I don't know, maybe a little uptight. Go get a job and
Exactly.
go break some rocks for a living or dig a hole.
Yeah, exactly.
See how that works for you.
For sure.
You get a job with Dynarod and spend your afternoons putting your hand down someone else's toilet.
That's a good one. My friend who's an electrician, he said, I knew I had to quit being an electrician when, this is up in Canada, he spent a month in a new shopping mall installing the giant lights on top of like 100-foot light pole in the dead of winter. Steve.
Yeah.
It's like, I said, that's when I said, what am I doing with my life? I'm done. He was making a lot of money, but he was dying.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm playing songs and driving around Europe. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Let's face it.
So you guys happy? Are you happy with yourselves where you are?
Fucking miserable. Can't wait to get out of this.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Yeah, we're good. I think. Yeah, looking forward to. We've got another week on this tour, but it's it's all pretty painless tonight. We're here in Dingwalls tomorrow. We're in Dublin. Then after that in Glasgow, then we go to Paris for a couple of days, and then Amsterdam for a couple of days.
How bad is that? How hard is that? Really?
Yeah,
and hopefully our cases are getting lighter by the day.
Exactly.
As we sell our LPs that we brought.
Yeah,
with
that's good. I mean, that's going back to like the MP3s and downloads and everything, and it's like it's full circle. It's almost like the record companies getting shot in the foot again. Well, not if they make the records themselves, but it serves them right for getting rid of vinyl in the first place and replacing them with CDs, which is going to go to digital.
It's a nice format. People like vinyl. I mean, plus we've got a download card in there as well, so you get both. So it's pretty good. You've got a nice artifact at the end of the night to take home.
Yeah.
We tried to make it look nice.
Yeah, which gives you a chance to with vinyl. You have the whole scope for it.
You've got that larger format, so it's the artwork can be a little more.
My son is 7 years old, and when I showed him an LP, because I just started getting vinyl again, and he's like, what is this? Like his CDs aren't even part of my son's life. It's all online.
Right.
It's all a subscription. I have some music subscription, and that he's just like, what is this that you touch?
Which I think is a bit of a shame as well, because it's almost limiting in some ways, because the music that they listen to is like MP3 is compressed already, so it's not the full spectrum that you get on on analog, which is how we hear anyway.
No. But there's something to that for sure. You're right on some level, but I grew up listening to AM radio in America through the little pea shooter speakers in a Ford Country Squire station wagon, right? And let's not even talk about fidelity, right? It was non-issue. When you heard a song coming through that was a good song, I didn't care what it was on. It was a great song. So, there's something to that for sure, but I think to get really bogged down in the idea that, it has to be this level of fidelity, I think that's I don't know. I don't buy it 100%, because like I said, I'm listening to like whatever Jimmy Webb or something on a car radio. It didn't suck,
That's true, and I heard an interview with John Fogerty recently where he said how his music was produced. The early Clearwater Revival was almost made to sound good through one speaker, and
so I don't know.
Would be produced for AM radio,
because maybe in the old, in the time of vinyl before, maybe not everyone could afford a full, hi-fi system.
I would say 99% of people couldn't afford the you know, because when you get into hi-fi stuff, you can be spending thousands and thousands of pounds on that. You know, real kind of where people spend 500 quid on a 20-foot cable. I mean, you know, that happens. So it's like Joe says, it's music. At the end of the day, if it's the
make it accessible, which is again what's helped, I guess, the positive side of the digital side.
I mean, I think it's the songs that are the key. Whether it's, you know, I'll listen to an MP3 of a great song and it'll affect me and I'll love it. And, you know, maybe if I heard it on an LP, I'd say, wow, this is even better. But, you know, if it's a good song and it's pulled off well, I mean, I'll listen to it on a wire recording. I don't care.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good way to see it. Actually, one thing you reminded me of from the songwriting perspective is what I heard already from album is still touching on many relationship issues. Is that something that's still on your mind, or like an outlet of it, and in the emotional connections or results of relationships, or how it could be good or bad?
Well, Joe's lyricist in chief on this record.
I didn't even really think about it too much. Yeah. Just what comes out. You know, love songs. I think that's my territory.
Okay.
You know, that and, you know, mortality and the lack of anything post-death.
What is it about when you say love songs and you write about it a lot? What is it?
They just always speak to, you know, who doesn't like a love song?
Yeah.
You know, or a love song that's bittersweet. It's great.
It's like a resonant with the feeling of when, you know, it's, as I say, when it's good or bad.
To be honest with you, not being as flip, I don't think about it that much.
Okay,
it comes and you get in there and you start poking around, you make something out of something, feels right, you sign off on it.
Okay, sounds nice.
It's not that magical.
Okay, excellent.
Anyway.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to hearing the music, and it's so nice to meet you guys.
Thanks.
Well, I hope you enjoy the show.
I certainly will. Thank you very much.